All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Bringing you another good tutorial guide on, for new players or early game players on, how to build your hangar. You know, what maybe mechs and builds might be good, but overall, um, you have to think about the big picture. I see too many players using builds that are only good on 2 or 3 maps. You need to build a hangar that has every build that you're using in your hangar to be good on every single map, on every single mode. Why are you going to invest in 12 mechs for specific situations or for specific maps and modes? It's a waste of money, waste of resources, and it takes away from investing in the mechs and builds that you should be using. So, first glance at this hangar, this is a new account. It only has less than 700 games on it, so it's a fairly new hangar. And at first glance, you'll say, yeah, it's a pretty good hangar. But every single one of my mech and builds, there's a specific reason for me to do the things that I do. There's a specific reason why I use certain mechs, certain builds, certain weapons on certain mechs. I always have a reason. So, first and foremost, build a hangar that is good on every single map and in every single game mode. Okay, so you don't have to use actually these specific mechs and weapons, but the thought process is what I just discussed. So this hangar has, I have a seeker and I put frag guns on the seeker. So why am I using frag guns rather than revokers or embers or maybe better close quarter weapons? The reason for that is, again, I have a reason, is because I can port in to the enemy and I can kill 2 or 3 mechs at a time because the frag guns have a spread. Now, when you're building your hangar or when you're upgrading stuff and choosing what weapons you want to use, the problem with content creators is they're showing you stuff at endgame, all pink stuff. You need to consider the SP tier you're playing at. So when you're playing at 2K or 3K SP, a lot of things work, and the frag guns are very, very strong at early game. So this build gives me good single, but also I can kill 2 or 3 mechs at a time because of the spread the fragment guns give me. So it's a solid build. The other reason for this video I kind of just mentioned is the fact that, I play endgame. I play endgame, I play 5K accounts, and I play 2K accounts. I know that every different tier you play at, certain things work, certain things won't. So it's important to at least have someone give you some advice that plays all the different SPs. And I can tell you what is very good at 2K and what is very good at endgame. Obviously, 2K is easy. A lot of things work. But when you get to endgame, there's only certain things you're going to want to invest in. So but today we're talking about 2K. So forget about what you see on content creators, YouTube videos, or whatever. We're focused on early game right here. Okay. So the seeker. So here's my search. Now, early game. I don't suggest early game to use dual revokers. And here's why. There's a few reasons. Let's use the Nomad as the better example. So if you look at my Nomad build, I'm not using 2 revokers. I'm using the revoker and Ember. The Ember has a weakened effect that gets applied to the enemy mech. So when you dash, You hit the mech with your Ember, and then when your dash hits, you do extra damage. So that's the benefit. But also the other reason is that as a new player, it takes time to get good at the game. It takes time to learn with dual revokers how to hit the mechs and be good at brawling. Revokers are not easy to use when you first get them. You have to learn about leading targets and brawling and just getting good with that. So early game, I suggest you go the easier route. Throw an Ember, throw a Revoker on your mech, and you're going to have more success because with the Embers has a spread. So you're always going to be hitting the mech, where with Revokers, you have a very small hitbox. So maybe when you get to 3K or 4K, then you can start using dual Revokers. But for now, I really suggest you using a hybrid. And the hybrid also allows you to run two solid builds, Revoker and Ember. So you don't need two sets of Revokers. So even with the Surge, this build does fine for me. You know, this Hangar is just a 3-star Hangar. So that's a little bit about the Revokers and Ember guns and why I run a hybrid. So Orion is, I don't care who you talk to. I mean, there's no argument. The Orion is the strongest mech you can have under 6K SP. Okay. The weapons you use on Orion don't matter a whole lot in early game because a lot of things work. The Orion boosts the damage and slows the mech that you're focusing on. Later, after 6K, you're pretty much going to want to use something more meta like pod guns or disruptors. Me personally, my favorite builds on Orion are the pod guns and disruptors. Pod guns are great because it gives you 300-meter range. So it's just a great solid build. But you can use anything on the Orion. It's going to make it stronger. We did the Nomad. Okay, here's my Guardian. Okay. Guardian Gemini. Guardian Gemini. When you get a mech and you're trying to figure out what weapon you want to put on the mech, you first have to realize the mech's ability and what it can do to enhance or help the weapon you're using. So, why am I using Gemini 16 on Guardian? And John, that doesn't seem like a build that's going to work on every single map and every mode. Well, it does. And you just have to think about why. Why? Because first, the Gemini has 170-meter range. It locks onto a target, and you just can't get away from it. And the Gemini doesn't have a minimum targeting distance, so you can use it close range. It will still target things that are right next to you. Why the Guardian is because if someone rushes you, all you have to do is crash them and then shoot them. So the crash also helps when you've got an eclipse or a shadow. It removes the stealth ability, so your Gemini can now target the mech. Guided weapons, one of the weaknesses of guided weapons is it can't target things that are stealth. But if you use the Guardian, when they get close enough to you, you can crash them, and now you can target them. The Gemini is a very good weapon at close range and also long range. So it works on every single map, every single game mode. Now, I only have not even 700 games. So I'm at the point now, so I got all my mechs 3-star. Now I can start introducing pilots. I don't rank stuff. I'm not going to rank my fragment guns are already ranked 4. My mech is ranked 3. I don't need to rank that up. What you need to do is you need to start adding pilots. Okay. To give you an example, a pink legendary pilot adds 70% damage boost to your weapon. Ranking up your weapons, ranking up your the biggest boost you can do for yourself in a hangar is spending the time to level up your pilots. So generally what you want to do with your pilot is with any pilot, when you start a new hangar or your early game, you need to get your pilot 4 stars to rank 4, and then level up another pilot to rank 4. So at some point, I'm going to have all rank 4 pilots in my hangar. Because once you start going a bit beyond 4, it's expensive. It costs pilot marks, blah, blah, blah. So once you get your pilots to rank 4, you will get 34% damage boost. 34%. So ranking up weapons does not give you 34%. So what I'm saying is, before you go crazy on ranking stuff up that you can't reverse, you need to at some point introduce pilots, and that's what you do about pilots. And you just grind the account. Leveling up pilots is free experience. I would never, if you spend A-coins to level up your pilot instead of just playing it, you're retarded. That's all I got to say about that. So, what SP level you play at is important. When you're getting advice from other players, or you have to let people know what SP you're playing at, because different stuff works better at certain SP tiers. So, I don't know the win rate on this account, but it's probably 94% or something, it looks like. So, this hangar, looking at my hangar, it'll be successful on every single map. What I usually do in my hangars, regardless of specific weapons and mechs, I like to have 2 mechs that give me long range. Okay, helps with campers, helps on CPC, yada yada yada. So I'm using pods. I'm using Gemini as my long range mechs, and Seeker is also a long range mech. Why? Because you can port back to them and kill them. So I then have Surge and Nomad as my speed in my hangar. You should always have speed, especially in CPC, so you can grab beacons and cap. And it sucks to lose on points in CPC because you're using a slow mech. So this hangar, regardless of the specific mechs I'm using, and weapons, there's other weapons you can use, there's other mechs you can use, but you have to build your hangar where you have long range capability and also good close range ability. Pod guns work close quarters and also long range. Gemini gives you long range and also close quarters. So you can see I can play this hangar 2v2, CPC, 5v5, and do very well. So that's pretty much just a brief overview, and I hope it's going to help you, because this pay to win crying, there's revokers in the gear hub. All these mechs. I believe I spent $7.99 American for my Surge. The Orion cost me $2. I think on this account Nomad was free because I think it was back when I won in a playoff event. Guardian is now only 408 coins, and the Seeker I think I got for $5.99. So you want to talk about pay to win? Okay, yeah, I spent $20 on the game. If you think that's pay to win, you're ridiculous. And by the way, you can't buy wins. So pay to win is a ridiculous term, especially now. You can never buy wins. So it was ridiculous a year ago, but now there's plenty of stuff in Gear Hub. Don't make the mistake of spending your resources on the wrong stuff. Understand that you need to have kind of this concept in your hangar of long range versus close range. And if you look at my builds, various builds work whether they're close quarters or long range. So I don't have to build 10 or different mechs and builds for different maps or different modes. Be smart about your hangar, and you're going to be a little happier and probably have a lot more success.